Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of These Lads Are Mental. You've got Neil here and Grant Trebilco. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, you got it, mate.
Yeah,
Thanks for
sweet.
having me.
Now, we do have one omission from today's episode, and that's my lovely co-host, Gary. He's actually sick today. There seems to be a bit of a dose going around, a bit of a flu. So, Gary, we wish you all the very, very best, but he's Scottish anyway, so no one can understand a word he says. So, to be honest, we won't miss him.
Yeah.
But we might chat GPT, dub him in maybe later on. Welcome, Grant. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So, if anyone doesn't know, tell us, who is Grant?
I'm a Kiwi. I've been living in Bondi about 10 years. Yeah, grew up playing surfing. Playing rugby and surfing. So always been a big
Union or league?
union.
Yeah. Good
Yeah,
man.
always been a big union fan. I still sport league, sport the Warriors, but yeah, grew up playing rugby. And yeah, since being in Bondi, I'm part of the One Wave community, which is a surf charity raising awareness to mental health through saltwater therapy, surfing, and Fluro. So you might have seen us every Friday morning for the last 10 years. We've been surfing in the brightest outfits we can to bring more colour to mental health. And we wear the bright outfits just to make mental health more visible and start those conversations and get more people in the ocean surfing.
Oh, great. And I've been down there before on a Friday, and one of the questions I have is it you still going? Is it every Friday? It's like 52 weeks a year?
Every Friday, yeah. We've been doing it every Friday now for 10 years. Our 10th birthday in March. And yeah, we haven't missed a week. And the whole reason is that, community's like more important than ever. And so if you're having a good week, you can be down there to support someone who's having a tough week. But if you're having a tough week, we've had people say, if I can just make it through to Friday. When it's summer, you get more crew. But there's been someone standing at that South Bondi ramp every single week for 10 years. Like I travel quite a bit, but Sammy runs Bondi, the legend. He's been part of One Wave right from the start. Yeah, it wouldn't be what it is without Sammy. So he's always down there every week and the rest of the One Wave crew.
Wow. And today is Friday that we're speaking now. So
Yeah.
were you down there this morning?
We
Or?
got salty this morning. Yeah, we had Fluro down there this morning. We had about 15 of us. We sit in like an anti-bad vibe circle to start. And that's like a mental health check-in.
Yeah, tell me if anyone doesn't know, just like the premise. So if you go to Fluro Friday, what happens? What time does it start?
Yeah, it starts 6:30 a.m. like every Friday. We meet at ramp 1, so like Iceberg's end of Bondi Beach. Dress in the brightest outfit you can, but if you don't have any fluoro, don't worry. We bring some spare fluoro down and we start off. Everyone's welcome, so you don't have to know how to surf. Some people come down and just join the anti-bad vibe circle chat. Some people come down for a swim and we get coffee after. So the anti-bad vibe circle chat happens before the surf. So probably around 20 to 7 after we've checked in with everyone at the start. We do a circle and that's just a mental health check-in. And we share free the funk tips. We talk about how's your stoke factor out of 10 today? How are you feeling from 1 to 10? If you're feeling below 5, we just talk about how can we support you? What's one thing we can do to help you with your mental health? Today we talked about what's one thing that got you stoked this week. What's one thing that's been a bit funky? So it's a safer space and you can just sit there and listen or you can share stories. Yeah, we just want to let people know they're not alone and there's always someone to chat to about your mental health.
Yeah. And you get all kinds of ages, young, old, yeah.
Yeah, so we run actually a school program. So we've been doing our Free the Funk school tour at the moment around Australia. So we do free mental health programs for primary schools and high school. Last week, some of the kids came down from the Bronte Primary School. So we get kids as young as 5 down. And we get Cedric, he's like a local legend. He's been coming down for every Friday for 8 years now. He's 87 and he reads his favourite quotes every
I think
week.
I've seen him. I knew there was a legend like that. I've seen him in the photos, yeah.
Mate, he's a legend. So every week, he used to have a whole page of quotes, but now we just top 3. So he researches every week and he brings down his favourite quotes. So yeah, all ages and everyone's welcome.
Yeah, because we had Trent on from 440 Club, absolute legend.
Trent, the legend.
And they do Saturday, the Run Club. And there's it's not, I was going to say a trend, but I don't mean like that. There's a consistency there, isn't there? About community, you said consistency in itself hasn't been there every single week. And he said the same thing that you said about some Saturdays he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to get out of bed. He's like, fuck this, but he goes and does it. And then maybe the next week he helps somebody else when he's in a good space. Have you found that the consistency over those 10 years, how many is that? 52 weeks a year, Joe?
Oh, yeah. 520 fluoros.
Oh, fuck, yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Have you felt like that consistency has lent into its success?
Definitely. I think it's just people know it's there no matter what. And what we've found is some people will come down with their first Fluro Friday a month ago, but what happens then generally they'll come down every week, or some weeks they don't, but they just know it's there every week. And I know there's been mornings when I've struggled to get up. Like this morning it was freezing, but once I get down and see the crew and they give you a big hug and then you have a chat, have a swim, we all get coffee after. It's just like you never regret it. And for some people that might be their run club, or there's the salty swim crew. I think it's just that consistency and community and connection, and combine that with sports and the dressing up and just sharing stories. And it's just you go from like strangers to best mates in minutes. And I think community, you can just be you. You don't have to pretend when you're...
No one knows what job you have. Or
totally. You don't talk about what job you have. If I'm having a tough week, I don't have to pretend that I'm happy. It's like a space you can just turn up. And sometimes you don't feel like talking. Sometimes you just want to sit in the circle. Other times you feel like sharing. But you can just be you, and people are always there.
That's brilliant. A commercial or a corporate example of this, which is a bit crass, but McDonald's have their they're open 24/7 most places. I know it's not everywhere, but most of the highways and all that, they are. And I read a marketing campaign about that before, that the reason why they do that is people always know that if I am hungry, there's always a McDonald's I can go to. And I think the statistic that they don't make money between the hours of 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., but they make money in the peak hours because people know I can always get a McDonald's. You know what I mean? So I think when I think of what you guys do in 440, is if I just know that's always there, whenever I need it, I can tap into it.
Totally. Just got to show up and just be me. And quite often the days that you don't even realize you need it most, you'll even be like, oh, you never regret it. It's like when you go for a surf or swim, like you never regret it, or a run or anything. It's like you always feel better after. But also there's no pressure. If people, like someone messaged me this morning and said, hey, look, I'm a bit tired, I'm going to sleep. I'm like, all good. Yeah. Just take care of you. It's cool to rest. So there's no pressure to turn up. But that's when people don't show up. That's when we need to check in on them.
Gotcha.
So it's good. Like Cedric this morning, he's 87, and one of the crew didn't show up, but they'd messaged me, so I knew already why. Yeah. But he said to me after when we walked into the cafe, oh, I need to send a message to Chloe. And that's so powerful, because I found with my mental health, it's when I know I'm struggling, when I stop messaging my mates on WhatsApp, or I don't show up for a surf. So it's more like what I'm not doing, because I still appear to be happy. Yeah. And this is what I often find with me and a lot of people that are struggling. We appear to be happy still, but it's what we're not doing. So that's when my mates know now. But they never used to know that. Yeah, but they know those things now.
That's the importance of opening up and speaking about your troubles. And Trent spoke about last week about isolation. When he feels he's isolating himself, saying no to a lot of stuff, and obviously saying no to things is good as well. Yeah. But he said if he's pulling away, he knows that's the trigger for him going, okay, what's going on, mate? I need to maybe meditate or do something like that, which is important. But do you guys have, so you mentioned you get in touch, is there a community group? Are you on Facebook? Is there a WhatsApp? Do you have an outside of the Fluro Fridays channel that you chat to people? Or
yeah, good question. So we have One Wave Bondi Instagram, and that's how we can communicate in terms of what's happening with the events. And we also have a One Wave Bondi like private Facebook group for people to keep in touch.
Yeah, so, and anyone can join that?
Anyone can join that, yeah. And that's where we keep in touch about the events. But most people just know they bring their friends down, and they just know that we're going to be there every Friday. But what happens then, we find, is that I think this is the power of community, whether it's a rugby club or whether it's a surf community, is people come down and be part of the Friday, but then it keeps going. So it is the Fluro Friday, but the support group during the week, people if someone's struggling on the Friday, they'll send them a message or take them for a surf. So it continues past the Friday.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, because I did the coffee club at Trent as well. And then this bloke reached out to me on Instagram, who's obviously part of the 440 club. And then someone else saw me in Bondi and was like, oh, great chats last week. And I was like, what the hell?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was like, that guy just reached out to check in and being like, how y'all going? And I was like, wow, that it is quite a powerful thing. And the other thing I was going to ask was, you mentioned that when you're in, let's say, a phase where you know you're not really in a great state, your friends around, is it important for you to communicate your thing or whatever it may be so that people can see signs, let's say, when you're not being you?
Totally. I think that's what I've learned with my mates. So back in New Zealand, that's where I grew up, but also when I went through my struggles, my big struggles, like 11 years ago, I was diagnosed with bipolar. My friends had no idea. And the first thing they said to me when I started opening up was like, it was super scary opening up. They're like, man, you're the last person I expected, but thanks so much for sharing with me. And so we'd sit down there as mates, and we'd always talk about parties, going for beers and stuff, surf trips, but we never talked about the hard stuff. We didn't know how to start the convo. So we just sat down and said, okay, what can we do to make sure we know each other's okay? And so we started this thing called a stoke factor check-in. Because when I check the surfboard, it's like 1 to 10 or... Oh, yeah. You know, so if it's 7 or above, the surf's good. And same with feelings. So if I say I send it on a WhatsApp group, chat, just to a few of my mates, or just even we're sitting around having a beer, just what's your stoke factor today? And if I say there's something that's a bit easier about, or what's your happiness factor, we say in school programs. And if I say I'm about at a 4, and they're like, oh man, like sorry to hear you're having a tough time. Is there anything you feel like talking about it? And you don't have to fix it. And then the next thing is, what's one thing you could do? What's one thing when you've been at a 4 before that's lifted your stoke factor? And I'll be like, have I been for a run? Have I surfed?
Yeah.
And then the next thing is just, hey, is there anything I can do to help you lift your stoke factor? I'm like, yep, take me surfing like every day. And that's what they did. Wow. So that's that stoke factor check-in, or I really like just saying, just checking in when you send a message to someone. Because if you ask, oh, how are you doing? Quite often we'll be like, yeah, I'm sweet. But if you go like, yeah, just checking in, just want to check in, see how you're doing. Or if I don't show up for a surf, hey man, missed you this morning in the waves, just checking in, how are you doing? And
that was always I have a B in my bonnet with "Are you okay?" day, which is great, and I like obviously it's going in the right place. But as you were saying, someone who's struggling with mental health and let's say is not far down their journey, if you say to them, "Are you okay?" they'll go, "Yeah, I'm fine." Obviously. Yeah. And then they did bring out a good campaign last year. "Are you really okay?"
Totally, that's where it's at.
Which was smart. But yeah, is the checking in, is that a better way to go? Does that maybe take it to a more serious level of, I'm actually seeing if you're okay here, mate? Because like how do you get past it? I'm fine, when you go, are you fine though?
Totally. So I think there's a few things you can ask. I think there's a stoke factor check-in, but if you're not a surfer, there's like, how's your headspace is quite good. Because it shows you're checking on their mental health. But I think that if you know someone's a bit struggling, and you know they're usually the ones that don't want to be a burden, that how are you really, or are you really okay? And then just the check-in. I like the check-in mix because it means sometimes when you're struggling, you don't feel like replying. You just can't
like,
deal with
I can't be bothered. Like,
but the just checking in, thinking of you, or just checking in to see how you're doing, I think it just shows you've got time and you're really checking in.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time we go, how you doing? And you can't do it with everyone because you've got workmates and you've got everyone. But I think just checking in, it just shows, I'm here. Or if you really do it, you're like, man, I miss you. Just wanted to let you know I miss you. Thinking of you. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Boom.
Got it. Yeah. I know it is because, look, I think definitely in the last couple of years, it's getting so much better. A lot of people from all walks are actually talking way more about, I'm actually struggling a bit at the moment, this thing and that thing. Whereas maybe 10 years ago, you wouldn't say that. I lost a close friend in Ireland he took his own life. And when he did that, we didn't have a clue. No one knew he was struggling at all. Like, we were burning the candle at both ends, so you could put 2 and 2 together kind of thing. But we didn't have a clue. Like, he was like good looking guy. He had great family. He was working. He was a great football player. Like, he had everything. And then just like that, he was gone.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah. And it was, Kieran Walsh was his name. And he's just an absolute legend. And he was the last guy you would think something was going on.
Rugby, he played for Waverley?
No, he was a football back in Ireland. Yeah. And I hung out with him. We were actually going down to a music festival in Dublin called Oxygen. He was supposed to stay in my tent that weekend. And then he was like, I'm not coming on the Friday. I'll see you on Saturday, day 2 kind of thing. And then he just didn't rock up. But that was very him. But he was at the festival. So this is him. I laugh at this because he lost his phone on the Friday night up in the city going out, which was typical him.
Yeah.
And then I met one of our mutual friends. He was like, no, he's down here. He just doesn't have his phone. He lost it. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll find him at some point. So we never actually bumped into him. And he was supposed to be staying with us in our tent. Right. And then he went home on the Sunday. And when he got home, he obviously put his bags down, was probably on a bit of a come down, and just, whether it was premeditated or he just decided to do it, that was it. He took his life that night. And you just think, fuck, if we could have, the fine lines of being able, like, maybe if someone had been, if one of us rang him or something like that, or could have brought him out for a surf or a coffee, could have been the difference. Yeah, it was very sad, but
so sorry, man. It's so hard to know, and this thing it's often the people that you least expect.
But hopefully, like, through all the work that you're doing, is that we're bringing down these walls, and there's multiple groups that are doing this now, which is great. So that hopefully in the future there'll be less of those stories.
Definitely, mate. Because it's so hard. I'm so sorry you lost your mate. It's
so
tough.
I'd love to go to the Royals while we're speaking with the Fluro. When that all happened, it was like, oh my god, that's amazing. It was great to see you getting like international kind of recognition. How did all that happen?
Mate, that was crazy. I still don't even know how that happened.
Yeah.
We got contacted by the government, the Australian government, and to ask if they could come down and check out Fluro Fridays just because they had some potential special guests. And
Yeah.
they came down, and afterwards at coffee, they're like, yep, we think
And
they'd
this was
love it.
William, right? And
Prince Harry and Meghan, yeah.
I was a Harry and Meghan as well. But didn't you have William as well, or?
No, Prince Harry and
Oh, it was Harry and
Meghan.
Meghan,
So
was
when
it?
they came on their trip to Australia,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Meghan it was announced that she was pregnant. So
Yeah.
it was on that trip. And yeah, the government said they had special guests. And then we actually then had to pitch to all their like comms team, security team on the beach. Me and Sammy, I'm like, oh my God, this is...
So did you know it was them, or no? You just knew it was somebody important?
We found out it was them, but we couldn't tell anyone. And then it took like about 2 months before it finally got accepted because we had to go through security checks and everything like that.
Who's this Grant guy? Do we trust
Who are
him?
these guys in these crazy fluoro suits? And yeah, and that was, mate, it was amazing. Like having them down there, yeah, they were the best humans, so passionate about mental health. When they were in the circle, they were there.
Yeah,
and they stayed for way longer than they were meant to. We had their PR person waving, going, we've got to cut it. And
It kept going.
Harry was just chatting him and sharing his stories around mental health. And he was one thing that stuck with me, just said everyone has mental health, just like physical health, and it doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter whether you're royal or a professional surfer, a teacher or a student. We all have struggles with our mental health, and it's a strength asking for help. And that's one thing I've learned, because I grew up playing rugby in New Zealand, like full macho culture.
Yeah.
Didn't talk about our mental health, didn't talk about our feelings. Unless you broke something and people could see you needed help, they'd check up on you. But mental health, we just didn't talk. So I just assumed you should be happy all the time. And that was how people knew me. So that was probably my toughest thing. Is
Like, yeah, you had a facade.
People were the one that said, oh, you're always so happy. So I thought I always have to be happy. And that's why I just hid mental health challenges for years, because I'm like, I don't want to be seen as the happy guy. Like, I don't want to be seen as that sad guy. And that was the hardest thing for me. But once I opened up, I was like, man, like, we're all going through something.
Yeah.
I found my closest mates were struggling, like, that I saw as the happy guy, and they were struggling like me. And I'm like, why do we not? So every person I told either went through something themselves or they knew someone. And that was 11 years ago. And I think it's changed a lot now in terms of people being more comfortable opening up, which is the best thing ever. But yeah, like, it was hard opening up for stuff, for sure.
And what about your own personal story? So when was that, when was that pivotal moment where you start going, hang on a second, maybe there's something not right here? Could you talk us through that maybe?
Yeah, looking back, I reckon I had social anxiety when I was a kid, but like I didn't really know what it was. But it wasn't, I didn't think about getting help back then. And then it was probably a breakup when I was 22. It was like a 4-year relationship. That's when I like went through, looking back, first real depression. Couldn't get out of bed. I remember my mates trying to get me to come around and go for a surf, and I was like, nah, I don't want to. So looking back, but still didn't get help. I didn't know what mental health was back then. And then kept on keeping on, as you do. I moved overseas, went snowboarding in Canada for 5 months, then lived in London for 3 years, and traveling, partying. Just, you had ups and downs, but I just thought that was what you deal with. And then it wasn't until 11 years ago now, I was like, dream job, working for a tequila company back here. I worked in marketing as well.
Yeah, I saw you work for like Kellogg's and a few other businesses.
So my background's marketing, so I was like worked for Kellogg's after the tequila job. So the tequila job was like, we were throwing heaps of parties. It was like the dream job, but started to get a lot of anxiety. And then it was anything from during presentations. I remember having to run out in the middle of a presentation, just sweating the small stuff so much.
I get that as well.
Oh, mate, it was crazy. And then I actually was then diagnosed with depression.
Yeah.
I just started, things would go wrong at work, and I just think it was the end of the world. I couldn't go to work the next day because I was so worried that I'd stuffed up when I hadn't talked to my boss and I hadn't done anything wrong. But in my head, anxiety can just make it so much bigger. And I got diagnosed with depression, but it was a misdiagnosis. And my dad has bipolar disorder. You have the downs of depression, but the ups of mania, where you have
on a high,
so much energy. And I had a manic episode when I was working at the tequila company. It was a combination because I've been put on antidepressants, but I shouldn't have been put on those. I still take medication now, but it's the right medication for me for bipolar. But the antidepressants actually sent me up to the high end of the manic end, and combine that with partying a lot with the tequila company. I ended up in the mental health ward of Manly Hospital. Right. It was like spent 2 weeks in there, and they basically had to slow me down. And that was hectic, but that was the trigger point where I'm like,
that was 10, 11 years ago.
11 years ago. So that was in Manly, and that was the trigger point where I'm like, I need help. And it was the hardest thing ever, like being in a hospital surrounded by everyone going through mental health challenges, when I'd been the one that was like, no, I'm the happy guy. I'm like, I need help. But I was diagnosed with bipolar like my dad, and it was the first time I was like, okay, I've got bipolar and I can go two ways. I can be angry about it and everything's just going to be, my life's going to be shit. Or I can be like, okay, this is hard, but this is as low as I go. Like, it can only get better if I take care of my mental health and accept that I've got bipolar. And when I got out, finally, I moved home to New Zealand. I couldn't work for 6 months. And all I did every day is just surf.
Was that under doctor's orders kind of thing? Or was that a personal choice that you were like, I need time off?
Yeah, combination. Hey, like I just needed time to recover, like, because it took a while for me to come down from the high, the manic end, and I had to work out what medication was right for me. So it was the first time I'm like, I just need to take care of me, because I'd always spent so many years trying to make everyone else happy and trying to be the happy guy, and I was like, okay, I need to take care of myself. And surfing was a massive part of it. Just my family and friends were amazing. I started to open up to them and found out I wasn't alone.
And was going back to New Zealand okay? Because a few people we've had on the show, when you go home, it can be often triggering. Like, I know personally for me, it can be as well. Or was that a happy place for you?
It was, at the start, it was hard because obviously my mates hadn't seen the struggle or what the change. And then basically I went from leaving, and I went home a lot, but leaving, being the happy guy, to going back, and people would be like, why are you home?
What's wrong,
you know, and I didn't want to bump into people.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, what's a way for me to help me through this? So I started sharing my story. And I told a few friends, and that's when I remember I just sat down in front of a camera. My friend told me to do this. I'm like, I'm not ready to tell someone in person. So I just sat in front of a camera, filmed it. And I remember just sharing my story, letting it out. I was like crying, and that was like so hard, but at the same time, it like felt good to just let it out. And I sent it to a few friends. And then they came to me a couple of days later and just gave me a massive hug. And then one of my best friends shared that he had anxiety, never told anyone. And then for some reason, I was like, it changed. I'm like, this is something for me positive. Like, you just need some kind of hope. And one was surfing. My family, I needed a doctor. I call it like checkup from the neck up for my meds and psychologists. But I needed something positive every day to get up for, to give me hope that things can get better. And that was the start of the idea for One Wave. I'm like, okay, I love surfing. Let's just try and get more people in the ocean, because sometimes one wave's all it takes to give you hope and make you happy.
That's what I was going to ask. One wave is all it takes is a brilliant statement. It's a great thing. It's super catchy in the sense that it does make sense, and it's easy for people to catch on to it. Sometimes with mental health, you think, oh, fuck, this thing's wrong. How do I do this? And it all becomes too big. Whereas One Wave is such an easy way to attach to it. And we've never actually met before, but I don't even listen to our podcast, but we've mentioned you so many times out of all the episodes, because a lot of the people that we have on say similar things, as in it's just one step at a time. We've had someone saying micro moves from macro changes.
Yeah.
Trent last week was saying the same thing. It's just 1 foot forward, you move on to the next thing, and then it builds and snowballs. Yeah. So I know, reading up on your story, it feels like I know you intrinsically, but maybe you tell me, like, did it come down to, because I've said it before, does it come down to the One Wave, or one day one of your mates was like, let's go for a wave, and that saved your life?
Yeah, so I've surfed my whole life, so it's always made me happy. But when I was struggling, I was so down and find it hard to get out of bed to go surfing. But I remember just being out there one day, and my mates asked me how they can help. And sometimes when you're going through mental health challenges, it's hard to know what to do, and you want to try and fix it. But what I've learned is just being there. And this is through my mates, what they did for me. Gave me a hug and said, look, I'm so sorry. It must be so hard. We're here for you. What can we do to help? I just said, just take me surfing every day. Yeah. And that's what I did. It was that I'd surf with my dad. He shared his story around bipolar, and I'd never really understood that. But the ocean, there's always one wave in a surf that you remember that gets you so stoked. And for me, I remember when I'm on a wave, I'm not thinking about everything else in my head. I'm not being angry about having bipolar. There's no head noise. I'm happy, and you get off that wave and you're like, you just feel things again. And you're like, it gives you hope that things can get better. So for me, it's not just paddling out and catching one wave coming in. It's like you catch heaps of waves, but it's like there's always one wave in a surf that you'll remember, and that might keep you stoked for an hour, might keep you stoked for a day, might be like longer if you're like getting a real sick one. But that's it. One wave's all it takes to get the stoke back. Yeah.
Did it get to? Was there a point where you were thinking, God, I don't know if I can keep going? Did it get to that point where you were really worried that I'm in big trouble here, something might happen?
Yeah, definitely. It was the hardest thing ever. I was on a work trip to Mexico. That was before the manic episode. And I think it was a combination of jet lag, and I was on this big inductions. There's a lot of pressure, meeting all these people. And I think I hadn't really felt anxiety that bad before. and it ended up being some form of psychosis that I had. And then
Yeah.
luckily my brother was in Mexico City, so I could go see him after the trip. But yeah, at that point I was just like, I don't know what was going on. I was just like,
Yeah.
so scared. I didn't think this would get better. And yeah, my family was so worried about me getting home. But yeah, there's definitely been some real tough times. I'm thinking like, I don't know if I can do this. And that's the scariest thing ever, because I read this book about a guy that jumped off a bridge in the States, and he was like, when he was on the ledge,
Yeah.
he thought that nothing was fixable. And
Yeah.
luckily he survived. But as soon as he
wow.
jumped, it felt like everything was fixable.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and so he survived.
while
Like,
he was
and he
in
tells
midair.
that story. He was like,
Wow.
when he was there, and so whatever I might think, if I get to a tough time, I'm like, okay, this is temporary. Like, things are shit, but they can only get better.
Yeah.
And that's why I know if my friends are struggling, like, what's one thing? Like, it's because your mind is so complicated. And so if I get in that stage, or a friend does, I'm like, what's one thing that we could do today?
Yeah.
Like, is it like go outside and sit in the sun? Is it like go for a swim together?
Walk the dog.
Is it
whatever.
like, or do you need to take a nap? But just like one thing, and then it's one thing, next thing. And for me, that was catching a wave, surfing. The next thing was like sharing my story with a friend. And it's just kind of thing. But yeah, and that's what I say to people. I'm just like, and if I know friends are struggling, I just give them a big hug and just make sure I just keep checking on them and be there for them. Because that's hard, because it's like you just go through so much pain.
Yeah.
And when you're in that moment, you don't feel things can get better. But say to people, just hang in there, because like it definitely, you start feeling things again.
Yeah.
And little bits of things every day give you more stoke, and then you're like, yes.
Starts building momentum. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think now, once I've been through that, I'm like, okay, I'm low again. I'm like, okay, it can only get better. I've just got to go back to the things that
There's a few really cool affirmations. There's tomorrow is the first day of the rest of your life is an easy one to remember. And also, if you are really struggling with mental health severely, every day that you wake up, you've basically become stronger than you were the day before, because
Definitely.
you've gone through it all now. Like,
Definitely.
you've gone through, you've created that neuroelasticity. You're battling all this stuff, and you're still here. Like, that in itself is like something to be proud of. And then thinking of the bridges as well, because we joked about this before. Some of my anxiety comes when I'm on a bridge, where I can't remember, it was a few guests ago we were talking about it, and yeah, when I go over the bridge, sometimes I get a bit like, I just think I'm gonna fall off. I've seems to have gotten past that a little bit now through just work and different things, and it seems funny, but going over a bridge now and I don't get panicky, I'm like, I feel proud.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like a
good.
sense
You
of
have
pride.
your things. Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, I'm okay here at the moment. But there's a bridge in China. I don't know if you've heard about this, and I think it was called something called the Death Bridge or something like that, because a lot of people were jumping off it. And they did this brilliant thing, which I think won an award, where they put sensors on the bridge. So you had to get over a thing and then walk a bit. So they had sensors. So if a body triggered the sensor, they had these TV cameras or screens, or I think an audio thing that would come on, and you'd be switched directly to a real life, like a Lifeline type person.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, and then they go, "Hey, are you okay? What's going on?" And they talk to people, and then it would bring them back. And I was like, what a simple but ingenious idea. As you were saying, like, that just made, when you said that, like when he jumped, he had that regret.
Yeah, that's always something I think of, because it's not about people. It's not about ending the life. It's just ending the pain, because it's just been so sore. It's just like, how can we help people when they're at that state, when they're in so much pain, support them and just show them that it's temporary, that we'll get through it, because losing someone's not. And people, it's just,
that's why I fucking hate when people go, it's selfish, when you hear things like
Yeah.
that. It's the most selfless thing that person thinks they're doing. They're thinking, by maybe me moving on, like, no one else is going to suffer. They're wrong in that decision, because as you're saying, you can always get better. But for me, it's in their mind, like, obviously you can only guess, but in my mind, I think they think it's a selfless thing. I'm not going to cause any more grief for anyone now, and I'll move on.
Yeah. That's the thing. I just want to end the pain. It's just, I think that's why now there's so many like amazing communities. If you think of like Living, Are You Okay? There's the Salties, 440, Waves of Wellness.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Deb, Sarah, and all down the beach, down the ice bath. There's so many amazing communities now that's what gives me hope.
Yeah. It is. Look, if you are struggling, there's Lifeline out there. There's a lot of things, like, please do reach out and get that help, especially if you're in that phase. But look, the good thing is being able to talk about it, because suicide as anything, or taking a life, was always a phrase and word that, like, you'd be scared to say, which there's obviously an understanding, you don't want to glorify. But also, if we can talk about it, let's say from an analogy point of view, we can bring people back from the ledge. And if we can normalize it in a good way, that it's okay to have thought at a certain period, but that should be a sign that maybe I need to get help. So hopefully this little segment hasn't been triggering, but I think we certainly think that it is important. It's the whole ethos of the podcast, is that if we can just talk about this,
Definitely.
like it's our diet or whatever it is, that we can easily talk about, oh yeah, I had a great night last night, and then, but if we can talk about these things in a normal way, hopefully then it can take the power out of it a bit and put the power back into our own hands.
Definitely. I think it's, to anyone out there who's struggling or has lost someone, just thinking, sending so much love, and just know there's always someone you can reach out to and chat to about it. And I was so scared about opening up, but every time I've opened up, no one's ever said to me, oh, why did you share your story?
Yeah.
That's a bit like, why'd you share your
What'd you do that
story?
for?
Yeah. Everyone's always like giving me a hug. So just know that if you are going through some tough stuff, it's so hard because you got so much head noise going on. But I think if I can chat to one person you can trust, a mate, family, chat to a doctor. Your doctors, I have an awesome doctor in Avalon, and I just called it a checkup from the neck up. So I check out my mental health just like I do my physical health. So always someone to chat to. But just know that it's hard sometimes, but always someone you can chat to.
Did you find when you were still working in corporate, because just from a visual point of view, how long ago was One Wave when you started that?
Oh, when we started, so
10 years, yeah.
One Wave started 2013, so 10. So up until that, I was working, and my background was marketing.
Yeah.
So
you were still working in corporate when you were going through the One Wave Foundation.
Yeah, that was when One Wave, before One Wave started, when I ended up in hospital, that was working for the tequila company. And then the first 4 years at One Wave, I was working at Kellogg's. Yeah. So I do One Wave part-time and still do marketing stuff on the side.
Did that go, was everybody quite supportive of that? Or did you ever feel like, because I've shared this, that maybe it's held me back in corporate? Or did you have any of that kind of stuff go on?
I was definitely nervous. So when I was working at Kellogg's at the start of One Wave, and I remember we had an Are You OK day at work, and they wanted me to share about One Wave, and I hadn't told anyone at that job at Kellogg's that I had bipolar, but they probably may have seen it with One Wave. But I was like, okay, am I going to do this? I'm nervous because I thought that, I'm like, maybe am I going to get promoted with jobs but I knew, I was like, okay, this is why we do One Wave, to raise awareness of mental health. If I don't open up, then who else is going to feel like they can? So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. And then I shared I had bipolar, and then after that just opened up the floor. So the marketing director shared something around someone they knew who went through mental health challenges. Other people just came up and gave me a hug, and all of a sudden it created this community at work where when you walked in, because usually when you walk in the door to any company, different now, but back 11 years, you felt like you had to pretend that you were all good. But after that, people would check on me and I'd check up on them, and it just changed the culture. So I always thought that what I thought in my head in terms of how people would treat me if I was open about having bipolar, completely different to what actually happened. They were just there to support me, even more than before.
And what was you mentioned, was the diagnosis, was that a relief? And then maybe tell us about bipolar today. You mentioned medication, is there a certain must-haves that you have to add into your week that they're non-negotiables to maintain your mental health?
Yeah, so for bipolar, the initial diagnosis was scary because obviously I didn't really understand what bipolar was. I knew my dad had it, but I didn't even understand what he'd been through. And that just shows that he had it about 5 years before. Me and my dad are the closest mates. He's biggest frother, happiest dude ever, loves surfing. So always people go, oh, we can't believe that you guys have both got bipolar. But what happens with bipolar is you've got the lows of depression. So everyone has ups and downs in life. Everyone has bad days. Everyone has some good days. Bipolar, though, you can have the extreme lows of depression and the extreme highs. And so, for example, the extreme highs, you just have so much energy. So I broke up with a girlfriend on Friday night 5 years because you don't want any commitment. I was working for a tequila company, but I racked up all these bar tabs for all my mates, and I had all this free tequila. So I'm like, you don't care about money. Yeah. I walked into my office dressed as a tequila farmer, and I was like, okay, I'm over this corporate shit, even though I'm working for a tequila company. I'm going to start a charity called Where the Party At. This seemed like a good idea. I'm going to raise money for surf aid. So the thing is with bipolar, and I was posting heaps on social media. Yeah. I sped up. Everything was fast. I had so many ideas, and I was actually going to do them. So you're in this creative space, but my mates were like, are you all good, man? Slow down. Everything's so fast. You're posting so much on social media. And so you've got to find somewhere in the middle. And for me,
is it linked to ADHD or...
I'm not, it's separate, but there is probably parts of it that do definitely link in. So the only way they could slow me down to start was in hospital, and I had to get put on the right meds. So I'm on 2 types of medication now. I'm on, which was hard to start, but it's just part of my recipe now. So that's non-negotiable for me. One's like a stabilizer, which protects me from going high.
Yeah.
Other ones protects me from going too low.
Yeah.
So you're trying to
stay in the middle.
Stay in the middle. Yeah. But non-negotiables for me, because with that stage...
Like, do you drink alcohol or now, or...?
I do, not as much. I don't party as much as I used to. If I have 2 big nights now, like, that would throw me, and I'd get down in anxiety. So non-negotiables for me are like good sleep. Training. I love exercise. My back's been out the last 2 months. I haven't been able to surf, which has been hard, but I've been like swimming laps in icebergs. So I'm like, I need to do some kind of exercise. I was
going to say, we were talking off air before we started about when you don't have your surf right, which is like you've created a whole charity with this, and it's probably tested you a bit. And we talk about triggers as well. Like, what if something like that gets rocked? Okay, I can't do my thing. Do you have a plan B, or is there coping mechanisms that you have?
Yeah, that's been a test of my mental health. So the last 2 months I haven't been able to surf. So I'm just like, what's one thing that I can do? Because I can't control that. So I've put surfing out of mind, and I can't try and focus on the things that I can control. And it's hard, but I'm like, okay, I can go to icebergs, swim laps, and then have a sauna afterwards. So that's like my thing that's helped get me through. I'm like, okay, because then it's going to look after my mental health. You can still stay fit physically, and then you feel better. So that's a non-negotiable for me. The sleep, I try and do meditation as much as I can, but get in the ocean and getting salty. So it's even better if I'm surfing. And that's a big thing for me, is just talking about it, like having mates around that I can be open about my mental health.
And what about diet? Do you eat well, or just normal diet, or?
Yeah, I try and eat pretty good. I definitely could eat better. I still love eating good food, but
burgers,
still love some burgers.
But
what's
your favorite burger in Bondi?
I'd say Little Al's,
the
North Bondi.
The chicken burger.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
What's yours?
Oh, look! Shout out to Bondi Tony. Like, he's an absolute legend. I do love a Bondi Tony or Betty's.
Yeah, Bondi Tony's. You can't beat Bondi Tony's. He's a legend.
He's just hot, mate. I love going down there as well. Like, it has the margaritas sometimes, and sometimes you go down on a Monday and then you end up having a couple of margaritas. You're like, Jesus. But no, he's a legend. He actually, day 2 of our wedding, we had Bondi Tony burgers at the wedding.
That's awesome.
And everyone was like obsessed with them. And then the next morning, people were still eating them cold.
Oh, how good.
I love a burger as well.
He's a legend. He's supported One Way from the start too. So big shout out to Tony. Yeah, he's a legend.
He's a good community. Going back to that community.
Massive community.
He's always supporting. Like, he's always posting about his mate doing this and doing that. And he's a Bondi legend.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then I actually think, when I was thinking about this recording with you, the first time I actually met you online was through Happy Sad Man.
Yeah.
The movie. So we actually had Genevieve on way back, like episode 4, I think, in season 1, and she's an absolute legend as well. We're mates and we've stayed in touch forever. I know all the guys are on the show, but for anyone that maybe hasn't seen it, like, how did you get involved in Happy Sad Man, and what was that about?
Yeah, Jen's a good friend of mine, and she was Happy Sam, and it was filming the life through the eyes of, there was 5 of us guys in it, and it started with John, who's an absolute legend, and he has bipolar as well. So the aim of the film was just showing men, we struggle with our mental health, and where there's happy, there's sad. And it's good to show that actually it's just part of life. Like with bipolar, like, you have the happy parts but you also have the sad parts, and that's totally okay. So I was stoked to be part of that film. I think Jen is an amazing storyteller, and she's got a way of just telling real stories and just being there. And she filmed that over 5 years, and so there was like a real good crew. There was Ivan, who's a farmer from Victoria. Dave, he's an absolute legend. He does a lot of acting, and he had some real funny parts. And Jake, and there was such a good crew.
Yeah, and you still keep in touch with all the guys, yeah?
Yeah, we still keep in touch with the guys.
It's still road shows around Australia, because I'll often see her posting going, we're doing a showing up in Northern Territory or something like that. It still happens, yeah? Yeah,
it's still happening, actually. She was showing it down in Victoria this week. Yeah, it's still going. It was pretty hard with COVID, because it was finished filming, and it was meant to do like a tour of all that. Tour of the show around the cinemas around Oz, but then it got like COVID happened, so she's got opportunities now to show it, which is awesome.
Brilliant. Yeah, look, Gary and I absolutely loved watching it. So if you haven't seen it, get along to the show. And it really is. I think the thing that stood out for us was how real it was.
Yeah.
And the connection that she obviously had with all you guys, and then the connection between you guys and all what you were trying to do. And then you could actually see in the doco the ripple effects it was having on like people around. I think there was the farmer one where he gave a talk, and then some old bloke came up to him afterwards and goes, I don't think I've got mental health, but what's this about? And he explained it. It was like, yeah, like he didn't even know what it was. And I think he'd lost his wife or something like that. And it was just like, he just didn't even know.
Yeah.
And we've actually had some people on the show before where, no, my mental health's pretty decent, or I don't really have too much stuff. But then when we get talking to them, as they talk it out, and they're like, actually, yeah, I actually do. They realize it after the fact. So we all have, you said at the top, we all have mental health, right?
Yeah. We all definitely had our struggles. And yeah, that was in the men's shed, just down in Victoria. He walked out, I was like, oh yeah, maybe I've had some mental health challenges. And yeah, that was super powerful. Like Ivan's amazing. He's an outreach worker on farms. So he basically goes down, it shows the power of just creating a space and having a chat with these guys in a shed and just being like, no, how are you really? Like, how are you traveling like on the farm this week and everything? Because you're so isolated on the farm.
Yeah.
And I know that I grew up on a farm until I was like 14, and when we moved to the beach, and like now I think back, I'm like, whoa, yeah, farmers are actually like, they are so isolated. So those men sheds, awesome.
Yeah, they're brilliant. That definitely stood out a lot when we watched that one. Going, there's people out there that don't even know. And like when you think about it, you go to the gym to train your physical body. We have a mental body or a mental state as well, that if you don't train that or look after it, like it's going to suffer as well.
Definitely. And that's the thing, it's just like mental fitness. It's just like professional surfers have mental health, they have psychologists help with their mind game for surfing. It's just like we just have psychologists to help their mind game for life, you know?
Yeah, you do see it like sport now, professional sports really caught up on this, and now most of the teams, the Sydney Swans and all that kind of stuff, they have meditation teachers, they have breathwork coaches, they have psychologists, sports like every top team has to have a really schmick kind of mental program as well to get their players ready for a competition.
Yeah.
And it's proven it's like even breathwork is a simple thing. If you don't breathe in enough air, how can your brain how can it be as focused as it should be if you're not getting all the oxygen? It's the same with dehydration. Like 80% of Australians are dehydrated because of our climate and stuff like that. So if you're not getting those fundamentals in, you mentioned sleep for you. Gary talks about that a lot. Sleep is the first building block to you having worsening mental health conditions.
Definitely. And it's one thing we can control, because that's what I think a lot about. Okay,
it's free.
It's free, but I always find myself still up late. I'm like, damn it, because I'm like, one big thing for me is getting up early. I have this thing, me and my mates win the morning, win the day. And I know that if I get up early and do something like go for a swim before work or just catch up for a coffee with my mate, but it's best if I can exercise and jump in the ocean. Like my rest of the day, I'm like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
And for me, the thing with bipolar, you've got the ups and downs, but because the medication pulls you down a bit, so you're more like in the middle, anxiety, like they call it bipolar anxiety, and that's something that I have to deal with a lot. So I still struggle, but I just know now I'm like, oh shit, anxiety's back, it's temporary. And I'm like, what can I do to make it easier just to get through? Is it just take a day off from work and just take it easy, have a nap? But I find if I've got real bad anxiety, for anyone who's going through anxiety at the moment, and I know if I'm going for a coffee in the morning, I usually love chatting to people who've got anxiety. Like I'll try and dodge people. Like, even going to the cafe and ordering a coffee's hard, or small talk's really hard. So if I bump into someone in the street, sending an email's hard because I'm like overthinking everything.
Every detail of it, yeah.
So that's when I know it's there. I'm like, okay, what can I do? Usually like a nap. Or usually box breathing if I've got to do a presentation and I can't take a nap. Box breathing helps quickly. Take a nap, and then if I can, exercise. But if I'm not right to exercise, just the nap can help sometimes. Because I get it in my chest and then in my throat, and then I just so much head noise. Overthink everything.
I get it where I have to like pause and take a deep breath. Like, and when you're in the middle of giving a pitch or something like that, you can go... It can come across a bit awkward, but that's an anxiety thing.
Yeah.
It's horrible, yeah.
Anxiety is real tough. And I feel for the people that, because when I first got it, when I was overseas on this work trip, I didn't know what it was. So all of a sudden I start thinking, oh man, like people think I'm doing a really bad job. I've stuffed up this presentation. I said something stupid to someone on the street. I bumped into someone and we did some weird handshake thing, because that happens a lot now after COVID. We don't know, like everyone's doing these different things. And if I've got anxiety, that can throw me. Afterwards, whereas if I'm not anxious, I'll be like, oh, that's all good.
You don't even think about it.
But anxiety, and what often happens though is I'm worrying about it, but then they're worrying about it walking away because they think they've done something stupid too, and in the end we like just get all this head noise.
And is it just like a change of scenery? Do something to get you out of that? That usually helps.
And sometimes it's just, for me, it's just the box breathing helps. Exercise is massive, or take a nap, but sometimes also just writing it out. Because often the things like, for example, if I've done a presentation at work and I think I've stuffed it up, that can throw me for a day or two.
Yeah.
So what I'll either do now is write it out and be like, what I'm thinking, what am I worried about? But I think I stuffed that presentation. But then most of the time, the reality is if I go and chat to my manager and go, hey, look, I'm sorry, I think I stuffed it up. They'll be like, what are you talking about? So I find like either telling someone, writing it down, or exercise. And sometimes there's things that I'd be worried about for a week, sometimes a month. And if it's like a day or two I'm only worried about, if I write it down, I'm like, okay. Do it before you go to sleep. What am I worried about today? What are 3 things I'm grateful for? So half the time you're awake. So you do the gratitude, plus you do the what are things that are stressing me out or what's worrying me today. Yeah. Sometimes that's enough just to get it out of your head. And if you wake up in the morning, you might have just forgotten about it.
And do you have any advice on, because I remember when I saw a doctor before and like we were talking about anxiety, and then she said, look, unfortunately with anxiety, if you avoid it, it just grows and will get more. Which is obviously one thing, but then part of me sometimes was like, you have to just fucking lean in. Like you can't just avoid it. If you avoid it, it's just going to build. Do you have any tips? Like, is that part of your mantra where you go head first into it and you just deal with it? Or is there times where you think you actually do need to step away and avoid it? Or like, how does that work for you?
Yeah, for me, it's just about feeling the feelings like rather than fighting them. And if I go, oh, why have I got anxiety? I shouldn't have anxiety. Then it just gets worse. And it might take 3 days for it to ease down, rather than 1 day. Sometimes my anxiety can last a week. There's one thing I do that helps me. Tell one person, especially the people you're around. Hey, look, someone like, especially someone at work, or if you've got a flatmate, hey, just like, got a bit of anxiety. Most of the time my mates will be like, I couldn't even tell, but just letting it out. At least I don't have to pretend that I'm all good around them. So that takes the pressure off me. For me, it's just going real easy on yourself. Yeah. And going like taking the time. If you have to work from home for a day, if you have to take a nap, do the meditation. But I think the biggest thing for me is running it out or surfing it out. Yeah. But not the fact of I'm going to get rid of it. It just eases it. And gradually I'm like, okay, it's starting to go. Do you do gratitude, or do you write things down or journal or anything like that? Or I do a bit of gratitude. Sometimes I'll just do it in my head, or there's sports people, if you don't have time to write it down, they do the like if you're in the middle of a sports game like soccer and you're about to kick a goal or whatever, if you've got like a penalty shootout or whatever, tap your hands. What's 3 things that you're grateful for? The ocean, have an awesome chat with Neil. Wow. It's the weekend. I love that. And then all of a sudden, like kids, when we go to do the school programs, we actually teach the kids that for if they're stressed out about a test. So that's something that definitely helps me. But I think the biggest thing for me is just like telling someone or writing it down, looking after my breath, so meditation and some kind of exercise. And you mentioned the kids and the school program, so let's fast forward to today. So are you full-time now on One Wave, and tell us about the programs and what you're doing? Yeah, I do part-time One Wave, and then we're lucky we have a lot of legend volunteers that run the Fluro Fridays at different beaches. Yeah, at the moment we started a school program, we call it like a Free the Funk school program. It's about bringing colour to mental health in schools and like providing the kids with like tips and tools that can help with their mental health. So every June last year, we started the Free the Funk tour. So we've just done 3 weeks of programs at schools, like high schools and primary schools in Australia. So we did 15 programs the last 3 weeks. So pretty much been like Fluro every day. Wow. Been also, you go into the schools, it's like Fluro Friday at the schools. We do it every day. Oh, so they get to dress up as well? Dressed up in bright colours. Oh, cool. And we go into an assembly. Like, for example, we're at Bronte. Yep. Bronte Primary is the first school. They're in bright colours, and we share with them, just let them know it's okay not to be okay. It's cool to be kind. Yep. Awesome to be different, and there's always someone to talk to about your mental health. And how do you think that's like seeing the kids, and do they share some stories? Like, where's the pulse on kids of today? Do you think they're quite emotional? Are they because I remember when I was a kid, that stuff would have been amazing, but we had nothing like that. You know, there was no getting in touch with your emotions or sharing things. It was always bravado, carry on, do sports. There was no sharing. Do you think the next generation of kids are in a better place, let's say, than you and I? Yeah, it's good now that they're talking about mental health, like in schools, they're doing meditation, like primary schools. You ask them, like, okay, who here knows what meditation is? And they put up their hands. Not all schools, but then some of them, they're doing gratitude diaries. But the thing is, like, they're dealing with so much stresses, like COVID. Imagine being a kid, growing up with COVID. You've been at home with your parents like 2 years, and now you're thrown back in the school environment. Someone with anxiety, you've gone from the safety of home to the pressure. There's pressure, like obviously there's phones, it's phones now, social media. So there's a lot of pressures, but there's so much awesome mental health programs now within the schools.
Yeah.
So you put up, for example, like the other day, we asked them, what are your tools for looking after your mental health, or what's your happy place? And some of them will say meditation, reading a book, like talking to my friends. One kid the other day, though, was 7, and she said, I call Kids Helpline. And she said, it's really good because I just call them up. They ask me how I'm feeling. They talk me through it and ask me, like, what's one thing you could do today to help your mental health?
And she's 7.
In front of 100 of her friends. And do you know what? It was like, it was so good to know she knew that there was always someone to talk to. And that she was comfortable in front of her friends to say that. There's other kids that have said, oh, yeah, I talked to my psychologist, my therapist. And I think it just shows that it's changing, and mental health is becoming something that kids talk about now. And it's so powerful.
Making change, getting into kids is really important. And we know Batir, who I'm sure you probably know as well, they're mental health for kids under 18. And they had that crazy statistic where 75% of mental health conditions manifest before you turn 18. So if you're not dealing with or addressing it or talking about it throughout school phase, it's a lot harder when you're a 35-year-old, 50-year-old adult to try and unwind all that stuff. And it's the same. I've seen or heard case studies in Scandinavia with IKEA, with Swedish people and things like that about recycling, and they put that down to teaching the kids. And then the kids went out and taught their parents at home. They brought it back. So they learned it in school, brought it back to the home, and made a change to not just one generation, but 2 and 3 generations. The future is definitely with the kids. So I think the work you're doing is great.
Oh, thanks so much. And we've seen that where we teach them box breathing. And we had a message on Instagram from a mum when we did it at a local school. And she said, oh, like I was sharing with my daughter that I was going through a bit of anxiety. And she said to me, oh, hey, mum, have you tried box breathing?
Oh, my God.
And she was like, where did you learn box breathing? She's like, oh, the One Wave crew, the Fluro crew taught us that today. So it's like, it was super powerful. That was like, I think she might have been 8, the daughter. And I was like, oh, okay, that's so cool. They're remembering some of the tools. So even if they don't need it yet, they know when they get to high school. Because what we find in the programs is, so we asked them, what are your tips for freeing the funk or taking care of your mental health? And primary school, everyone's got their hands up and they just say whatever they're thinking, and what they come up with is like
fear, right?
But then what happens is once it gets to over like probably 12 and up, less hands go up. High schools, you might only get a few hands, but what we do for high schools is break them out into like groups of 2 or 3 so they can share amongst their mates. But they were worried about what their mates are going to think. And I'm like, that's when they need more help, because there's the pressure of exams coming up, sports team, of just life, being young, cool, partying, but they don't. That's when the hands go down. I'm like, man, and then I'm like, that's super scary. So it's, if we can get them talking about it earlier, then hopefully in a few years when they're at high school, they'll be still putting their hands up and talking about it.
That's amazing. And do you fund that through yourselves? Is there any government funding, or is the idea to try and roll that out nationally to all schools? It sounds like it would be amazing, right, to add into the school curriculum.
Yeah, well, that'd be amazing. We do a fundraiser every October for Mental Health Month. It's called like a Free the Funk Challenge. And so people sign up to do something to take care of their mental health every day. Whether it's like running every day, or whether it's like doing meditation every day, doing like a 24-hour run challenge. And then, so last year the community raised 30,000, which means we can provide like 30 free school programs. Brilliant. And we also just got a partnership with World Surf League, and they've been amazing at supporting us. And Oki actually donated his board, and Tom Curran at Bowes Beach, and so combined Oki's board went for 27,000.
Oh my God!
And so it was like combined they donated like 33.5, so 1,000. So that was like massive help for us, which means we can provide so many more free school programs. So we're lucky. We don't have government funding, but we're lucky we've got like an awesome community and support from like Billabong and World Surf League, and also Will & Co is our local sponsor.
Coffee shop.
And so they've been amazing.
Hopefully Alvo is listening to this show.
Legends.
We need more funding.
Thanks, legends.
And what's the future look like for Grant? What's the future look like for One Wave? Is there anything big on the horizons, or is the school program like the main priority?
Yeah, so schools and Fluro Fridays are the big thing. So we want to, at the moment, we've got the aim is by 2025, so it's racing up pretty quick, couple of years. The dream is to have 100 One Wave communities around the world that are running like Fluro Friday events like at least once a month. So they've got that community. At the moment,
how many countries are you in at the moment?
There's been 200 beaches in about 50 countries that have run like at least one Fluro Friday event. So at the moment, the regular communities, Australia, New Zealand, UK, the States, France, there's Indonesia. So the aim is to get those.
Wow.
Yeah, we would love to get like 100 communities that are doing those. And then we'd love to do 100s at the moment. This year, hopefully, we'll do around 50 school programs in the year.
Wow.
The aim is
So
to get up to
one a week. Wow.
Yeah, that's the dream.
Wow.
So the aim is to get that up to 100 by 2025. Like 100 beaches, Fluro Friday communities, and 100 school programs. And the aim is we just really want to give everyone a chance to get in the ocean, ride waves, and talk about mental health.
And have you ever done one in Ireland? Has that been on?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Now I put my foot in it.
I'd love to do one.
I was just thinking because the water is so cold there.
Oh, yeah.
But Irish people, like, we don't share, like, it's culturally, the alcohol has been a big thing of drink away your worries. So, yeah, it would be well needed and it would go down well there, I'm sure.
Would love to. Actually, I think there might have been one for one of the birthdays a few years back.
Because there is on the west coast of Ireland, there's, oh my God, memory block, but there is a big surf culture up in Sligo. On the west coast, and I think there's like an international competition that goes on there. So there is good waves on the west coast.
Yeah, Ireland gets real good waves. Freezing, but good waves. I need to check that because I'm pretty sure there might have been actually on an island. So I'll check.
We do get a lot of Irish listeners. So if anyone wants to take that on, you know how to get in touch with Grant.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, anyone who's keen to start a Fluro Friday at their local beach, we'll be stoked to chat. You just drop me a message on the One Waves All It Takes Instagram, or send me an email, and then we just jump on a Zoom for an hour.
Yeah, because I was going to ask normally, how do people get in touch with you? So One Wave is the best way. Instagram.
Yeah, drop me a message on the One Waves All It Takes Instagram. I'm always checking that, or Grant at onewavesallitakes.com. Drop me an email on that, and if anyone's keen to start a Fluro Friday or host a school program, we just jump on a Zoom and have a chat or on a call. Yeah,
or if you're in Bondi, if you live around the area, next Friday.
Every Friday we're down there.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. And do you have a job as well outside of this, or do you have a side hustle, or?
Yeah, so I do marketing freelance on the side,
great.
Which is lucky because that means I can travel and do all these school programs and do the work at night. So whenever I need to around that, so I do that a couple of days a week.
Brilliant.
And then do One Wave as much as I can. Yeah.
And you're still living in Bondi, are you? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just moved back. So I spent a couple of years back in New Zealand during COVID, and just moved back to Bondi.
Where in New Zealand are you from?
Mount Maunganui.
Oh, where's that?
It's like a beach on the east coast. So it's
North Island, South Island?
North. So if you fly into Auckland, it's 2.5 hours down on the east coast, so opposite to Raglan's, like about 2 hours away on the west coast.
Yeah.
And then, Mount Maunganui. Close Tauranga is the city where I went to school. And then Mount Maunganui, it's just like a little beach town.
Oh, Kiwis and Irish people have a lot in common. Even coming over here from Ireland, I felt like we were very similar. Like, we are similar to Aussies as well, but I felt like Kiwis, because of maybe the weather and things like that. Like, when I go to places like that or Tasmania, it feels like Ireland to me.
Yeah.
We don't quite have the landscape that New Zealand has, which is absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, I think we're very kindred spirits.
Definitely. I reckon definitely similar. It's going to be a good World Cup coming up, I reckon, eh?
Yeah, I know, the Women's World Cup. Yeah, I've actually got some tickets to the games, but when I went on to get it, the fucking thing was booked out in minutes.
Oh, no way.
And then I was panicking. I was like, oh, shit. And then I went to the Matildas, all their games were gone. Went to the Irish team, all their games were gone. I was like, fuck.
Oh.
So then I got England against Denmark, and then I got a quarter-final game, which could be the Matildas or Ireland, because we're in the same group as each other. So I'm hoping that, you'd imagine the Matildas will get through, hopefully Ireland as well. So I'm hopefully it'll be one of them. But then through my soccer club, I've been able to get a ticket to Ireland against the Matildas.
How good.
Yeah, so I can't wait. It's going to be great,
Yeah, it's going to be, it's massive. It's going to be awesome.
It's brilliant. Women's soccer has been unbelievable. I think in England, they had the FA Cup final or something that recently. It was 80,000 people went to it. It was like a full packed like stadium. So it's amazing how much it's grown in the last 3 to 5 years.
It's effort.
Yeah, it's getting up there to the same levels as men's, and rightly. And it's great to watch. I've watched the last few World Cups. It's really entertaining. Yeah, best of luck to all the teams. But I don't know who to support.
It's going to be so good.
Ireland or Matildas. We finish on normally 3 quick-fire questions. And
for you, is it my questions for you?
Tell me about yourself, Neil. Oh, shit. How long have we got? Yeah, it's a kind of little measuring tool, and it's actually interesting because we're going to try and do a book to try and share all the learnings, because let's say with you, we talked about bipolar and things like that. So we're trying to like talk about all the different elements and then combine it into one place as a kind of a toolkit for people to read and pick up and drop when they need it, like a kind of resource thing.
Amazing.
And you mentioned earlier on about when you break your arm, what you had to do. And we've spoken about that many times, Gary. And that's another thing we want to do is create a mental health pathway. So almost like a huge diagram of, okay, point A, I'm struggling. Where do I go next? You can go here. Okay, if I get diagnosed, and then create this map that people will know what they need to do when they're struggling, which is intrinsically in our DNA when it's physical. You break an arm, you just know ambulance, go to hospital, doctor, fix my cast. You ride on it, you get notoriety because of it. You're cool. Hey, I've got this.
Yeah.
Then your bone is stronger than it was before. So you actually come out of one of those things better for breaking it than you were before.
It's so true. It's like at the moment, because I hurt my back and I haven't been surfing, so I've been going to osteo physio every week. And the reason I'm doing that is so I can get good, so I can surf again. But what happens, I bet you, it gets good, and then I forget to go to osteo once a month. And it's the same with mental health. We do, when it's bad, I talk to my psychologist, I'm talking to my doctor a lot, and then I get good again, and some things will drop off. So what I've learned is if I can just keep doing them daily or weekly, that consistent, because we're really good at doing things. It's like when the car breaks, you could keep up the maintenance, but you kind of wait till it's like last minute when it's bad to fix it. So what I've learned with my mental health is just like physical health. If I was running a marathon, I stopped training, I'd get unfit really fast. So what I've learned, I've just got to keep doing the things every day, even those small little things, they like all add up.
Yeah, Gary talks about, because he's big into rest programs and food and stuff, and he was saying when you're in a bad place, just question, okay, what have I been doing in the last few weeks, or not, in most cases not doing. And then when you actually look back and go, yeah, I actually haven't been sleeping out, or I've had a few too many nights, you can usually find the pattern of what that is, and then you can make a change.
Totally.
Yeah. And then it's that saying as well, like a good diet doesn't make you a better soccer player, but a bad diet will make you a worse player. So even you're doing good things, you might not know it in the moment, but if you let them slip, you will eventually go off road a bit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Let's
jump on to our quick fire questions. So the first question is, what out of 10 do you think the world's awareness is for mental health right now?
Awareness for mental health, really good question. I'd say like a 6.
6, okay, great. And where's your own mental health out of 10 right now?
I'd say I just got my back fixed a bit more at the Oscars, so I'd say between a 6 and 7, 6.5.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the phrase you have? What's your out of 10?
Stoke factor out of 10. Yeah, so I'd be 6.5, and the reason is just because my back's been injured. I haven't been able to surf for 2 months, so that's been impacted. Also, I've been getting a little bit of anxiety this week, but I feel like I'm getting through that. So 6.5 would be where I'm at.
And just on that, so if you mentioned, I think, if it's below a 4, is it that you said, or is there a number where you're like, if it's below this, you need to have a think about it?
Below 5. Because if I'm 5 and a 6, 5, I know that I'm going, my mental health, I'm doing okay, but I can get through it myself.
Yeah.
If I'm below 5, then I'm like, I need some help. I need to talk to my doctor. I need to tell a friend. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then if you had one thing you could do on a day to improve your mental health, what would that be?
Surfing, for sure. If I can't surf, just getting salty in the ocean. Yeah.
Love it. All the science behind, if you live with it, the minute we see water as a human, like a piece of water, it immediately helps our mental health. So living close to the ocean, you couldn't ask for more, could you?
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, and we're coming live from Bondi Radio. I haven't even plugged that once, thanks to all the guys, Russ and the team. It's been great, and we are right beside the water. And I don't know if I'll get in there today, but
I reckon you should. You got it now.
I got it now, yeah. I have been doing quite a bit of ice baths. It's been a big thing for me because from mental health capacity, I mean, it does lots of things, ice baths, but it helps train your vagus nerve and your nervous system to deal with the fight or flight mode. And I spend a lot of time in fight or flight mode. I'm always like, have a coffee, fuck it. That's, if you're constantly keeping in the state of stress, it's just not good for you.
Yeah.
Then I get autoimmune conditions from that, and then you drink more coffee, and then I don't sleep. Like, I can function on little sleep, but that's also not really a good thing either.
Yeah.
It's building blocks for not a great scenario for yourself.
Yeah, I'm pretty much like that too. You just start going boom. But I used to just hide my feelings by being busy, but now I've realised, man, I've just got to slow down a bit.
Yeah.
When I'm struggling.
That was a big light bulb moment talking to Trent last week, because I was up at 4 a.m, 4:30 a couple of days in a row because I did his coffee club. Then we did the run, and when I was there, it was like an epiphany. It was like 5:15, and there's fucking barely anyone around, but I was on a natural high. I was
Yeah,
like, I'm
yeah.
fucking up, and I'm like, I felt great. And yeah, you're tired for a few minutes when you wake up. And I was like, fuck, imagine if I did this more. And then you just go to bed earlier, and then you get up earlier, and you're already ahead of people. Like,
Totally.
it's so simple, but then yeah, you don't do it.
I'm the same. Like it's a lot. I need it. I love the mornings, but then sometimes I'll still be like 10:30, and then you're like, jump on your phone. I'm like, oh, it's 11 o'clock. How did I get here again? I'm like, for some reason, I don't want the day to end, but then I'm like, I know that I'm gonna feel better if I like go to sleep early, get up early.
Look, it gets hard when you have kids because it's usually 8:30 before he's down, everything's settled and all that, and then you're thinking, okay, now I've got my quiet time. So then you have maybe a bite to eat, and it's 9:30, 10. You could go to bed, but then you're like, oh, or I could have an hour where I can just watch a movie or something like that. So it is tough, but it's just routines, and once you get into that, yeah, hopefully you can break whatever cycle you're in.
Definitely, you just start thinking about how good it is to feel fresh in the mornings, and then you're like, oh yeah, you get like Trent is the pure example of that. The fact that he does like coffee club every morning.
I know, it's mad.
Like what,
Fair play to him.
5 a.m. Before that?
I think it's 4:30 he starts to chat, so he's up at 3:30. I think
he's the best. He's the best human.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
But it is. Yeah. Look, my whole thing about alcohol has changed drastically since coming to Australia. Not in the first instance, I was partying doing all that, but now it's very rare that I go on big benders and stuff. And there's nothing better than waking up on a Saturday morning at 6 a.m. and not being hungover and feeling good about yourself. Like that is just worth its weight in gold versus getting up at 10 a.m. hungover, eating crap, the kind of way.
You feel like you've missed out already. I'm like, oh man, because when I'm hungover, like you miss out on the early surf. I miss out on my morning coffee, and those are like my two favorite things. So yeah, I think that's why 440 so good. Salties. There's a lot of communities. I think since COVID where people are actually they get up. Who would have thought that you get up at 4:30 a.m. on a Saturday to go for a run? But there's so many people that are into that now. It's awesome.
Just anyone that's listening, just try it. You'll be surprised how it can stick, and then your whole life it could set you on a whole new path. So
definitely, and you meet the best crew. So
well, make sure next Friday you get down to Bondi Beach for Fluro Friday. Grant, thank you so much for joining. Just me today. Gary is sick, but I know he's here in spirit. But we really appreciate your time. We've spoken about you for so many times. It's actually nice to actually meet you in person. Good on you for what you're doing, and we wish you all the best. And just remind people again, how do they get in touch?
Yeah, mate. Thanks so much for having me. I love what you guys are doing, so really appreciate the support. Get in touch here. Drop us a message on One Wave's All It Takes, the Instagram, or just drop me an email, grant@onewavesallitakes.com.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'd be stoked to chat.
Awesome, mate. Have a great weekend.
Yeah,
Cheers,
you too,
guys.
mate. Thank
all
you.
Right, see you. Bye.